Greetings and welcome back to 50 Shades of Beige. Well, thanks to the great response in my last video, if you haven't already seen it, that's the video where we did the JBOD, that's a janky bunch of discs on the trash bin Optiplex. For those of you who have missed it, I'll link it down below in the comments. Because of the great response to that video, I've decided to see what else we can do with the NVMe slot on this Optiplex 5070. So, today I have the RG3. Now, these you can usually find on Amazon or eBay. They're a little expensive because they have power regulation and such. You can actually run a GPU, hypothetically, you can actually run a GPU off of this that requires two 6-pin power connectors. We're not going to necessarily do that tonight, but I do want to see if this thing works. Let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in and see what we're working with. Now, unfortunately, the way this is configured is not ideal. I'm going to have to turn this sideways.
She's short and skinny, but she's strong. Her first baby come out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing.
See, I don't like how they did this. I wish that this was off to the side. I understand why it's not, but I still don't have to like it. Okay. Now, as always, as we embrace the jank, do not try this at home. I don't recommend any of these methods. This is stuff that I'm just doing for fun. Do as I say, not as I do. And with that being said, let's hop right into it here. I can actually take a Dell power supply. They actually wired this up specifically for certain Dell Optiplex machines and power supplies to take, but today we're not going to do that. We're just going to use the standard RTX 24 pin, which is right here. All right, so we've got our bare minimum here. Unfortunately, due to this design, our Wi-Fi antenna is kind of in the way. I don't think that's really going to cause a problem, but we're going to go ahead and unscrew it anyway. What kind of GPU are we going to go with? Well, to start off, just to see if this thing is going to work, I've got the RTX 3050 6GB here. This is actually the same GPU I'm giving away for my 1,000 sub giveaway, which will start very soon, so be sure to hit subscribe so you can be notified when we go ahead and kick that off. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. I did try this board once already, and it didn't really work great for me. But I've never tried it on an Optiplex, so we'll see. All right, so we've got everything hooked up. We're just gonna roll with this Apevia power supply. It's 400 watts, SFX. Now I know Apevia does not have the best reputation in the industry, but I think just for powering an eGPU, we should be fine. Also, we're rocking the dismembered SATA drive here that's been taken out of its case. You basically have to do that if you're going to do any type of M.2 type, I don't know what you call it, a modification, but if you're going to use any M.2 accessories on an Optiplex, you're going to need that extra space down there, so we don't really have a choice there. Alright, everything's hooked up and ready to roll. Okay, we've got 2 green lights. This does not bode well. We have no display. Is it going to detect it, I wonder? It probably would have detected it by now. We got LEDs flashing on the front of the Optiplex, but we've got no video out. Okay, we're back with 2 green lights. I'm running the display out of the CPU just to see if the computer even detects that the GPU is there. I think this setup is more for laptops than anything else, so I wonder if that's what they expect you to do. So the good news is we are downloading the NVIDIA display drivers right here. So it must definitely see that the card is there. We'll go ahead and let those download and install In fact, in the meantime, I'm probably just going to download GFE directly, just so I can be sure I've got what I need. We did it, boys. We did it. We've got Cyberpunk 2077 running on the trash bin Optiplex. Holy smokes. All right. The jank is real. The jank lives on. There it goes. You can hear the sound. This is going to be great. So yes, it is very possible. Is it practical? No. Does it make sense? Absolutely not. But can you do it? Yes, you can. Let's see what kind of performance we get. Hold on, let me turn this volume down a little bit. There we go. We are going to be a little bit hamstrung because the NVMe slot is only a Gen 3x4 slot. I guess with an RTX 3060 it doesn't really matter, but with the 3070 it will. Let's start with let's start with medium settings. We'll turn on DLSS. We'll put that on balanced. Texture quality on medium. Everything else basically on low or medium. And of course, because we have an RTX GPU, we must turn ray tracing on. Maybe not path tracing. Okay, not a terrible load time considering we're working with an i5 9500T. It's only a 45 watt chip. All right, 30 FPS-ish. We can deal with that. Like, it's playable. It's definitely playable. I'm so excited, guys. You have no idea. We're about to set a 3D Mark record for the Optiplex 5070. I guess I can't cancel out. That's all right. We'll let that run through. Let's see what else we got going on here. We're going to cut and come back. Okay, so we've got our final results here for Cyberpunk 2077. Averaging only 28 frames per second. Not great. But, you know, if you consider, like, everything else that's going on with this system, it's really not bad either, especially with ray tracing on. So what do you say we install something a little bit more powerful and see what we can do with this thing? Hang tight 1 second, we'll be right back. The 3070, RTX 3070. This is a much more powerful card than a 3066 gigabyte, which is basically, as everybody knows, is basically a laptop card. So let's go ahead and power on here. Okay. Also, I'm using some of the power from the board and some of the power directly off of the power supply, just because I don't trust this little board doohickey that I picked up from AliExpress to be able to handle the transient loads of an RTX 3070. It's just me being me. You know, I'm sure everybody has their own opinions on it. I just figured it would be a good idea to try it that way instead. All right, here we go. We are going to try Cyberpunk 2077 here. It does take it a second to load. That poor 9500T is at max. You can hear the fan spin up. Editor Beige here. Just a side note on the whole bottleneck conversation. The more I think about it, actually, in hindsight, the bottleneck is probably either the fact that we only have 8 gigs of RAM, or possibly that Core i5 9500T there. It really only has a 35 watt TDP, so there's only so much a CPU can do with that much wattage, especially a CPU that's meant to be a desktop CPU. It's not really optimized for that wattage. So anyway, just some thoughts there. I'll return you back to the main program. Oh yeah, that's pretty smooth. Oh, nope, still not that great. We're still stuck around 30 FPS. This is probably a limitation of the frames having to be pushed through the CPU, and also just that that by 4 connection is just too small. The RTX 3070 isn't even spinning up yet. Oh, there it goes. The fan's just kicked on the 3070. I mean, still not bad. If this is all you had, I'd say go for it. It is very impractical. I mean, extremely impractical. I don't recommend this at all for anybody under any circumstance. But hey, it can be done, so, you know, the world is your oyster. If you think you want to do this, just know that it can be done, and with relatively little hassle to boot. But I think ultimately the CPU, the RAM, and that by 4 interface is going to be our limitation. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to see if I can find a Core i7 like 9700 or something like that to put in here, and maybe another 8 gigs of RAM, and we can see if we can push this thing even further. I'm not going to do it unless you all want to see it though, so if that's something you're interested in, be sure to comment about it. Let's go ahead and go back to 3D Mark here. Alright, and here we go with graphics test number 2. We're hanging above 60 FPS, but there's definitely still a bottleneck here because the fans on the RTX 3070 are basically at their lowest setting, and they keep turning off, so I don't think we're at 100% GPU utilization. I tried running Riva Statistics Tuner, and for some reason it didn't launch, but I don't think it's all that important at this stage. I'm more excited by the fact that this works at all in any capacity, so I think that's fantastic. Time Spy score 8,922 here, and oddly enough we did fall a little bit behind the average, which I find very interesting. I'm not quite sure what's causing that, or if there's another machine out there. Those are probably desktop scores where the GPU is mounted directly to the motherboard. That probably has something to do with it. And yeah, it's just going to be what it is. It's not great, but it is possible. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Be sure to tune in because I've got plenty more content on the way. Some more janky stuff with this particular machine, and then the Aquanauts PC is also coming out this week. So be sure to look forward to that. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.